Welcome to Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Joining us now in the studio is Tessa Nadik, who is the AVP Product Management at Cox Automotive, and Rob DeGeorge, who's coming in through Zoom. He's the Director of Product Consulting at Cox Automotive. Thank you folks for joining me here in the studio and also Zooming in. So I really appreciate all your time. Let's jump right in here, Tessa, if we can. AI is everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. Every dealer wants to know more about it. I think there's a lot of dealers that are very concerned about AI. Is it going to replace jobs and such? But at the end of the day, it's really a tool. But there is a lot of hype. There's a lot of confusion out there. Can you help our audience understand better what AI really is and isn't in the context of automotive retail?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? Is like, what is AI and what does it set out to do? So I think the biggest thing is like AI is the buzzword, right? But the real magic behind AI, especially in automotive retail, is essentially solving problems that we've had for quite some time, just more effectively and more intuitively than we've ever been able to do before. So you hear a lot of the fear around job loss and things like that and replacing it. And, I won't lie, there are jobs that get eliminated, things like that. However, the focus of AI is really enabling people, right? If you think about a dealership and the individuals that are part of it, like if you didn't have to do the administrative tasks, like imagine what you can do. AI cannot build relationships. It cannot converse with the customer at the dealership. So we think about AI a lot as like the chat interface, and like that's just part of it. I like to think of AI as kind of three different things, right? One is like what it powers behind the scenes, and that would be things like workflows, manual things that require human intervention today that shouldn't tomorrow. And then there is the experiences that consumers use, like ChatGPT and all of the orchestration that goes on behind the scenes. If we think about the research funnel, it's essentially collapsed, right? They can go to ChatGPT, they can do whatever they need to do. And then third is like the discoverability. And I think that's where a lot of the fear lies today, is that like, will I show up? Is ChatGPT taking over the world? And the reality is like, not today, not tomorrow, right?
You got a lot of runway.
Yes, we have a lot of runway there. The search journey is more fragmented than it ever has been. So being present in these different channels, whether it's in a marketplace like AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book, your dealer website, ChatGPT is more important now than it ever has been.
Sure. And across Cox Automotive, how are you seeing AI currently changing the way consumers are doing their research and buying vehicles, and what should dealers be doing right now to prepare for these evolving changes and behaviors that we see? Yeah,
so I think the things that we do know, right, is that search is more fragmented now than it ever has been. So in a recent study, I think almost half of consumers in an automotive journey, like purchasing a new vehicle, disposing of the current one, used an AI source. Let's say ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, whatever it may be. What's important to know about that in that stat is that doesn't mean that they didn't use anything else. So when I say that search is fragmented, consumers are heavily relying on things like ChatGPT to give them information at the snap of a finger, right? But they're still going to platforms like AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, dealer websites, social, because they want to validate their choices. Consumers are not afraid of technology. They're afraid of making the wrong decision. A vehicle purchase is very expensive, right? So they are no longer just validating before they make their decision. They validate at every step. Awareness, consideration, and so on. Of those half of the consumers that used AI to help in their shopping journey, the majority of them said, like 98%, said that it did influence their decision. However, they were still just as likely to go on platform and visit a dealership that they saw mentioned in there. So the reality is that we are building brand trust and brand reputation within this experience before they ever meet like a dealer website or come to a dealership.
And we've all when we've all used chat. Hopefully everybody by now has used chat. Not everything on there is accurate. So that I think still says to the consumer, you can use this, to your point, as a tool, but still go to AutoTrader and still go to these other resources that you've got, to your point, to validate, because not everything's right.
Skepticism is baseline, especially for younger demographics. Like they don't believe things that they read in one place. So they're going to validate across the board, right? So they are there are more searches happening now than there ever have been before. They're just no longer linear, right? The search journey is not linear. Like SEO, still prevalent, right? We hear a lot of things in the space like, oh, is SEO dead? We've declared SEO dead, I think 20 times in the last decade. It's always around. It's just expanded into different channels, right? And things like, your marketing campaigns, your presence in places are more important now than they ever have been before.
Sure.
We used to think of those things sometimes as nice to haves, but that's not true, right? Brand authority, reputation, and serving consumer needs is more important now, and it's going to continue to compound as these things continue to evolve.
Yeah, very good point. Rob, with so many AI tools and platforms available, what advice do you have for dealers on how to evaluate with solutions that are truly effective, and how should they measure success?
Yeah, so the best advice I can give is don't evaluate AI by what it promises. Instead, evaluate it by the problems that it solves and the outcomes that it produces. Look, AI, it's not magic. It's a capability. And so really you need to start with your biggest operational friction points and then look for AI to address those specific gaps. And so when you're evaluating, you really want to focus on three things, and that is proof of performance. What kind of lift is it giving you? In your appointment set rates, in your engagement, in your visibility. Also, it's really important that you ask for dealer-specific case studies. Proof of performance is key. And then second, I would say transparency and control. Dealers understand, it's important that you understand what the AI is and what it's doing and why. And you want to look for tools that surface recommendations, not black box decisions. And then lastly, seamless integration. Look, the best AI is going to learn from data that is seamlessly integrated. It's going to learn from your DMS. It's going to learn from your CRM. It's going to learn from your marketing. It's going to learn from your inventory. And when those systems are disconnected and fragmented, it really hurts the ability for the AI to be effective.
Yeah, for sure. I see you shaking your head on that. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Rob mentioned. Essentially, look for the problems that it can be solved. If we're, AI is the buzzword, right? And everybody is flashing it out there. It's like, hey, we're AI enabled. But what does that actually mean? It's less about the AI and more about the problems that are being solved, right? From the day to day. And look for the proof. Like AI, is it a black box? Absolutely it is, right? And it continues to evolve. But that doesn't mean that there's not case studies or initiatives that have been done that we've actually seen in real time at Cox Automotive that can show how to pave the way, right? It evolves, but there is proof, right? And use that proof and leverage it and figure out how it best applies to your business and your cases and go from there.
Sure. Rob, you've outlined a 6-step plan for AI success, and I know you'll be sharing this on an upcoming webinar for your dealer partners that are out there. Can you walk us through some of the most critical steps dealers should be focused on as this rolls out?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, understand the different types of AI. I think most people are familiar with generative AI, but there's others out there. Predictive AI, LLMs, conversational AI, computer vision. It's imperative that you, as a dealer, understand what those different versions are, how they work, what they do, the different applications that they fit into. Another big one is to understand your current strategies and audit them, as well as your current properties or solutions that you have in place that are using AI. It's so important that you're familiar with what solutions you have in place that are already powered by AI and are using AI. There's a good chance that you're using vendors today that do offer AI, but you're just not aware of it. And so, for example, Vin Solutions, right? We're commonly known for our CRM, but there's AI solutions that now plug into Vin Solutions, like predictive insights that can allow you to see what your customers are doing when they're shopping online, behind the scenes. There's generative AI, which now allows you to create conversational messages, which you can put in text and emails and send them to customers. There's also a virtual assistant AI that Vin Solutions has, which can communicate with leads that are coming in when the dealership is closed. So it's important that you're aware that what solutions are out there that you have, and then what solutions that your vendors that you have in place today are offering that maybe you're not aware of. And then I would say another big one is to define clear goals for efficiency, as well as visibility and conversion. Those are really, really important. And then lastly, and most importantly, is to make sure that your data is clean, aligned, and updated. I would say that is the absolute most important thing, because as I mentioned it earlier, the AI is only as good as the data that it has to work with.
Right.
And so making sure, like for customer data, that it is up to date. You've got the most current customer contact points, email addresses, phone numbers, addresses, and then aligning the data between your different solutions, as I mentioned earlier, your DMS, your CRM, inventory, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Tessa, as he was mentioning, it is so vitally important that we're talking about clean, structured data, on all of these AI-driven strategies. How can dealers ensure that their digital presence is optimized and visibly, or I should say for visibility and authority in local markets?
Yeah, great question. And as Rob mentioned, I agree. I think that it is, if not the most important thing, very close to the top of the list. So when we say data, right, the best way that I can describe it in plain terms is think about AI or a ChatGPT as an engine.
Okay.
And the data is essentially the fuel. So if you have clean fuel, you're putting it in, the engine runs clean, right?
Right.
Whereas if it's contaminated or something is wrong, you have issues. So that's a way to think about it. So when we talk about data, making sure that you have all of the fields in there that make the most sense, right? The VIN. So if you don't have things vehicle condition, things for your inventory that are important for consumers to know, you're going to get passed up.
Right.
So we have the data that is available that we have on our platforms, and of course our clients as well, their data. So then there's schema. There's a lot of talk about structured data and schema, and again, buzzwords or terms that are used technically in industries.
Sure.
What that
you might have
means,
lost a few dealers on schema.
Yeah, schema. All schema is essentially it is the context that we provide to the engine, right? You have your data, and the schema says, hey, this is what this data is. This is what it means. It just provides context so that they know how to use that data, how to serve it to consumers. That is most applicable to the questions that they're asking, right? What is the best family SUV for me, right? That's natural language. That's how consumers search now. They don't necessarily just search, Ford F-150s near me. They do, but they want something that fits their lifestyle.
Right.
So to understand in the engine what family vehicle means, you need to have all of those attributes in there. Does it seat 7? Does it have cargo space? All of those things is how the engine will essentially know that, okay, well, this minivan is probably a good fit, or this SUV, due to the attributes of that vehicle.
Gotcha. Rob, AI is only as good as the people using it. What recommendations do you have for dealers when it comes to training their teams and choosing the right partners to support their AI journey?
Yeah, so number one is to encourage your teams to experiment with AI and really be human-centric in their approach. I would say also to identify and empower AI champions within your dealership. For example, like a specific salesperson that maybe's more willing to experiment with or engage with AI, and empower that salesperson to really use AI to communicate with their customers and recognize the results within the dealership that salesperson, let's say, has had by engaging proactively with AI and utilizing AI in the sales process. I think that when others see that salesperson is getting, let's say, faster response rates, better engagement, higher closing percentages, it's really going to allow others to see their success and also buy in to using AI as well. So I think that's a big thing. And then, as AI matures, consider hiring, AI specific roles within your dealership. Internet managers were a big thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Well, I feel confident that here shortly, it's going to make sense to hire somebody that within your dealership organization that is, an AI expert. Yeah. And that's right around the corner. So, and then last, I would say partner with vendors that are transparent and provide ongoing support and education. Not to scare you, but, AI is not here to replace people. It is here to help people be more efficient. And it's important they provide with a vendor who, is really providing that same type of message to your dealership. Right.
And is it so bad that if we find it does replace headcount at a dealer? I mean, it's almost like we're trying to stay away from that. Like, it's not going to reduce headcount. Nobody's going to lose their job. But as a former dealer, that's the number one area that I'm spending, or I was spending most of my money on was on the employees. benefits and compensation and everything else. And if
Right.
this is something down the road that is going to alleviate some positions that you've got to hire for, that's not a bad thing, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Or
Yeah.
the roles evolve, right?
Right.
And they change. So you might have like a role today that is very like task driven, and that might
Yeah.
not be necessary anymore.
Sure.
But you might need more people on the floor to build relationships
right.
or do those things. So it is just shifting again away from tasks that are like very straightforward
Yeah.
or take up a lot of time, and allow the people, because again, like as Rob said, like it's all about the people leveraging the tool.
Right.
An analogy I like to use is like if I show up at a NASCAR track and like race a car, like my car isn't going to win me the race,
Yeah.
right? Like you need a professional driver, and you don't need to be a professional to use AI, but
Yeah.
it's like what you put in is what you get out, like
Right.
most tools in life, right?
That's
It's
right.
not going to show up and solve all the problems for you. So like having talented individuals on your team that are open to and curious about leveraging these tools
sure.
are going to be the dealerships that win.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
question about it. It is a phenomenal tool. It's definitely the future of our industry. We're going to be, as this thing evolves, for sure. I'll start with you, Tessa, as we close out the segment. What's the one piece of advice for viewers and listeners as they plan 2026 as it relates to AI? And Rob, you just gave us a number of great tips there as well. But if you each had one thing to pick out that you said, this is what we really want to share with the dealers today, what would it be?
Yeah, so mine's a little bit twofold. I know you asked for one.
That's okay. That's
However,
okay.
so I would say, like first and foremost, like Rob mentioned, get your data cleaned up. And if
Okay.
you don't know what that means, make sure that you're working with a partner that can help direct you in
Okay.
that way, right? That is going to be critical to success.
Right.
And the second part of that is don't be afraid, right? Again, like when new technologies come out and it's adopted really quickly, consumer
Yeah.
behavior is changing, like there are a lot of opportunists out there that are going to scare you, right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, if you don't sign with us, or hey, all this search is happening in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Again, people are using ChatGPT, but traditional search is still king. 98% of consumers are touching Google at one point in time.
Sure.
And you don't have to be on this journey alone,
Yeah.
right? Like look for partners that are paving the way, that have wins and failures. No one in a new technology should say like,
Yeah.
yep, we win every single time. And like, don't be afraid to
Right.
try it out
Sure.
and fail. And like at Cox Automotive, like we have been working on these things for like 18 plus months,
Yeah.
And again, we have some really great wins and we have some losses
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So like at the end of the day,
And the dealers can benefit from that.
yes,
Yeah.
you can. Like learn from other people's mistakes,
Right.
and don't be afraid to make mistakes yourself. So
Right.
again, like don't be scared. Look for people that can help guide you through the way, and know that like consumer behavior is shifting. So it is
Right.
important that you pay attention to this, and you pay attention to this now.
That's right.
Because AI is not the future; it's today.
Yeah.
And as we talked, like Rob mentioned, like you may be interacting with things that are AI or some type of intelligence and not even realize it.
Yeah.
That's huge,
Yeah.
right? Is like when you don't even know. Again,
right.
like it should be a seamless experience, whether you're a dealer, a consumer, an OEM.
Yeah.
Like it should be a seamless experience for you and for your consumers.
That's right. I was talking to one dealer last week, and he said it was an eye-opener for me because I went to ChatGPT and I said, tell me the Ford dealer that's nearest to me to do business with. Okay, he's sitting in his Ford store.
Yep.
He didn't come up on the list.
Yeah, right?
There's a problem with that.
Yeah, there's a problem, right?
That's when he said, "Uh-oh, I have to pay real attention to this."
Yes, and personalization is huge too,
yeah.
right? So like that brings up a valid point. I know
Yeah.
I'm giving way more advice than you asked
No,
for.
it's quite all right.
However, we get a lot of feedback of like, hey, I searched this and I didn't show up, or Auto Trader didn't show
Yeah.
up. Personalization, that's what consumers want. We're
Yeah.
spoiled as consumers.
right.
We want things
That's right.
tailored to us and
Yep.
what it knows. So if we are sitting in the same place, Jim, and we're making the same search, we may get different results.
Yeah.
So there could be something potentially wrong with like a dealer's feed or something like
Sure.
that. Or for whatever that consumer's preferences
Yeah.
are, you're not showing up. And there's things
Right.
that we could do about that, right? Like
Yeah.
whether that's like, new content to make sure that like the consumers and the engines understand that. So the results and one of the main benefits of AI is that it is so personalized. And
Yeah.
that's what we as spoiled
Right.
consumers have been
Of course.
raised to
Yeah.
now expect.
That's right.
So
Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah, right? Here we
that's
go,
it.
yep.
That's right. We're actually counting on retailers now to
Yes,
know us.
exactly,
To
and
welcome
give
us
us,
back and
yes.
to say, you purchased this the last time you were in. Did you want to add this to the order? And you're like, wow, actually, I do want to add
right,
that to
and
the
in
order.
a dealership, hey, welcome back. We
Yeah.
know you purchased this vehicle. Are you ready
That's
for
right.
your 10,000 mile service?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. We
Sure.
want to be catered to. We want a frictionless experience.
That's
So
right.
it's more important again now than it ever has been.
That's right. That's right. And Rob, what about you? What's the one piece of advice that you'd share with our viewer, our dealer audience today?
My one piece of advice is like the real winners in 2026 going to be the dealers not with the most tools. Instead, it's going to be the dealers that are really intentional about choosing AI, apply it to real world problems, and then empower their teams to do the best work.
Yeah, fantastic. This is obviously an ongoing conversation. I'm sure that NADA this year will be all abuzz as it was the last couple of years about AI. There's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of companies out there that say, we have AI, we're driven by AI. You find out they're actually learning AI, right? But Cox Automotive, you guys are at the forefront of so many of these different products. You've got such resources you can bring together. So I'm sure you're kind of plowing the way there, right? For dealers.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Absolutely. And one final piece is you don't have to do everything at once.
Yeah.
Right? Again, and like leveraging vendors, like just get started. If that means that you haven't used a ChatGPT or a Gemini, just see how it works, see how it engages. Like start getting comfortable. You don't have to do all the things at the exact moment in time. Just get started.
Just get started. Jump in.
Yes.
The water's fine. Tessa Nadik, who is the Assistant Vice President, Product Management at Cox Automotive, and Rob DeGeorge, Director of Product Consulting at Cox Automotive. Thanks to both of you for joining me on the show today. Very much appreciated. Don't forget, you can sign up for the webinar or watch the replay anytime at b2b.autotrader.com. Just scan the QR code on your screen to register. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.